exit materials. These are those materials that leave your school, that speak so much about your school. They speak for you, but you don't know. They help people make a decision about your school. For your school, you do not know. Or either you know or you don't. But I'm here to, help you know the more. That those things speak loudly, much more loudly than you can imagine. I call them exit materials because they leave your school, and they leave with a story. Okay, so number one, your notebooks. There's a video I'm going to share in the group about a notebook that speaks volumes about a school. In that you will see cover for the notebook, that it is hard, it is proper, the color speaks to you, it's long lasting, it's not easy to deface, it's not easy to tear. And then you begin to look at the pages of the notebook. You can see that teachers have taken time to teach the students how to write neatly, good proper handwriting, neat finger spacing, neat line spacing, how to rule their books, where to write, where to place their dates, and it's consistent from beginning of the term to the end of the term. Nothing speaks as loudly as that. Now, you want to enroll your children at a school. One good way to find out how well the school is doing is to find a child who goes to that school and check their books. Whatever you see, those kind of books will tell you volumes about what goes on in those classes, how dedicated the teachers are or not to the profession, or the school itself, how committed the school itself is to what they're doing. Now, that's notebooks. In the example of the notebook I shared in the video, I didn't want to share the other example that I usually use in my training because I don't know how far videos will go. Because you see, the other one was so messed up. The owner of the book may see it someday and may hurt the child. And when children are involved, you just have to be careful. I didn't want that. So I only shared the video of the child whose notebook was shining. But the one whose notebook wasn't, I couldn't share that. Because the notebook was torn up. And yet the child was writing in that notebook and submitting it to a teacher till the end of term. Handwriting was nasty. No ruling. No proper ruling. No proper dating. No proper spacing. Nothing was good about that notebook. You think the problem is the child, the problem is not the child. The problem is the teacher who did not care. And it tells you much about that school. Now, school uniforms. School uniforms. I remember when I was in primary school. My school then, after school each day, when you say, now the day is over, night is drawing nigh. Once we finish and the bell goes, everybody starts to dress properly. The teacher insists everybody now starts to dress properly. Everybody looks at everybody. Look at your neighbor and be sure they're properly dressed. Our socks have to be properly done. The boys who wear bow ties have to have their bow ties properly, sitting properly. Girls who wear ribbons have to have their ribbons properly tied. Because, during break and otherwise, we have everything may have scattered. Then the boys will talk in properly and all of that, and everybody's properly dressed. The teacher will do an inspection round to be sure everybody is fine, is all right, before any child is allowed out of that class. So that means that by the time parents come to pick the children, the child they're picking, the child in that car is properly dressed. And teachers have drummed it into our ears that we must always look right. The moment you get home or the moment you get anywhere and you're beginning to feel uncomfortable, the only thing you can do, instead of tuck out your shirt or instead of look untidy, the only other thing you can do is pick up another dress and wear, pick up another outfit, a housewear and wear, change out of your uniforms. But once you're seen in your uniforms, you had better look right. Don't even say, okay, my mom has a shop, and then you get to your mom's shop, you take off your school shoes and your socks and you put on slippers. If a teacher saw you, you were going to be punished the following day. And parents knew about it. Mission schools, it was a Catholic school. Those mission schools, that what they offered was so good that they could get away with a lot of things with parents. Parents did not try them. If you err, they will tell you what you're supposed to do. If you now don't do it, you will bear the consequences that they don't care. So parents too were known to adjust. So if you have a child you brought from school, get something to change the child into, so that nobody gets to see the child, so that it doesn't become a problem tomorrow. That's how far the school went to make sure that in the whole town, my school was known, because children came from all over the town. The prestige was top notch. The whole town respected those children, respected that school. Teachers from that school, they had the whole town's respect. Now that's because if you saw a Santa Maria child, you would know, it's in Imo State, you would know that, no, this child is the future. That sort of thing. This child is our future. One of the children we'll look up to for the future. That sort of thing. So now that's for school uniforms. When you take pictures for school, like sometimes you see yearbook pictures, the teachers don't even take time to arrange the children's uniforms. Tidy the children up so that when they take a picture, they are looking good. It says so much about a school. If you didn't know before, that's okay. Remember, it's a learning process. So now you know, now you are learning. Because some of these conversations have never been brought up anywhere before you. So you may just as well, learn it as we go. A school bus. Some school buses are noisy. Some children are pinching themselves in the bus. Some problems that children have when they get back home. The reports that parents get, about the school. Some of those reports are from school bus. But I've always said, can we not play Barney on the school bus? Can we not watch movies on the school bus? It can become a movie watching session. It can become the school cinema, where they play the latest PG movies that are good for the children. Where you can play some of those things and children watch them, or old Cinderella, old classic stories, or even contemporary stories that have been told. There's so many of them audio. You can download those things and play them, especially for the nursery school. Then for the older classes, you can literature, poetry, even literature storytelling. If it's stories that they have to remember. If you know that a lot of children on the bus are literature students, you can play them Macbeth. Let it just become a learning opportunity. If they like, they listen. If they don't want to listen, they don't. But if you know you need to manage a situation, provide something. What are you doing to try to manage it? What are you making available? To try and help manage the situation. Then, when you do that, you will see that a lot of negative school bus activity will be curtailed. If children were singing nursery rhymes, on a school bus passing your house or passing a street, and you're driving down and you see children singing nicely, well, that would make you feel right about the school, don't you think? So what do you think about this? Let's discuss it. Tell me what you think. If you think this is a good idea for you. I know 1 or 2 schools who have adopted this system, and it works so well for them. Now, what kind of school bus do you run? Does it look neat, or does it represent you well? Your driver, does he represent you well? I know a school, there's a school my children went to, that their school buses, I know that those school bus drivers were receiving training. I know they were going for tea drinking training. I know very well that those men were going for training, because the way they used to comport themselves, they comported themselves as such gentlemen. I knew they were getting training from somewhere. And all of them, about 4 school bus drivers they had, all of them, behaved, this in the same manner. I said, no. These people are getting training from somewhere. Now, what kind of drivers do you have? Are they courteous to your parents? Are they caring to the children? Are the children safe around them? Your school bus staff, what kind of people are they? Now, it's your turn today, it's your turn tomorrow, but we don't know whether the people actually understand the job. They don't understand what's expected of them, or they're just there waiting, shouting at the children until the next stop. Pupils reports. This one is so crucial. You see that pupils reports are to be vetted. Teacher writes a report. She will give it to her year head. Maybe her year head will give it to the supervisor. Supervisor will give it to the assistant head. Assistant head will give it to the head. You think it's for nothing? These things are going out to say something. And it's so important that we give each teacher a template. These are the words you ought to use. Choose within these words. There's nothing you're going to want to say that one of these words will not cover. So choose from these words, okay? Because it's so crucial. You go and say something you didn't mean to say. So you have to be very careful. This is you reporting about the child that they've left in your care for 1 whole term. You had better have something. You had better report it right. And whatever the situation, can you prove that, the child has come from here since when the child was handed over to you to here, that there has been an improvement? These things are so important. You must demonstrate that you have done something, that the child has come so far, and that there's promise. There's a lot of promise, in that child. You must demonstrate that you're caring, that you have empathy. You don't just write anyhow. The child is all over the place. The child is too stubborn. There's a way to say the same thing in a nicer way, in a way that the parent understands that you're professional. If the child is stubborn, they know the child is stubborn, but there's a way to present it. And the child they gave you is stubborn, and they know the stubbornness is not something that you can kill overnight. But there's a way to present it to show that you're actually working on it, that we've come so far. The child has come from this point to this point. Something good has happened, to show that something good has been transpiring in the school, so it's not a waste of money. But then yearbooks. Some people see yearbooks as an opportunity to get parents to spend some money. So they say, appreciation. They give 1 page to the parents for a price. Pages to parents just to make some money. Maybe 1 page, 200,000, 300,000, 400,000, 500,000, depending on the school. And then you have page after page, parents say, greeting the school or celebrating birthday or something. It's crazy. That's not what a yearbook is. A yearbook is memoir book of all the activities that took place in the school that year. So that when children, as they grow, they leave that class, they leave that year, beyond that year, they can look back and say, oh, picture story, picture speak. They turn the pages of the yearbook and they experience again, they relive all the things that happened in their school the year before. So that's what a yearbook is supposed to do. Okay. Now, some yearbooks, you see, when you're turning the pages of the yearbook, you see all the children facing this way. Maybe you see one class, all the children are facing this way. Another class, all the children are facing this way. Some schools, they will insist that all the children from beginning to end, from nursery to primary 6 or to SS3, all of them facing this way. So that you're not busy looking like this when you're turning the pages of you're just looking like this. Can you imagine the things that schools go through, or the extent to which they go to ensure that you have a good experience, that parents have a good experience when they experience them? Whether it's their yearbook they're looking at, or their textbooks they're looking at, or their notebooks they're looking at, all that is selling your school. That's marketing your school. How about your social media presence? That one, we're going to deal with that extensively too. These are some basic things we're talking about. Social media presence is another major one. We're going to talk about that extensively because it's the latest way of doing things now. So it's important. A lot of people don't know how to find their way around it. So we're going to help show you how, so that we're going to help demystify some of these things, so you're not so intimidated by them. So you are empowered to do those things and do them well. Okay, now how about managing parents' personality types, which is something everybody has to learn to do. The school executive plus the front desk, the teachers, supervisors. If you're going to interface with parents, you had better understand that no one size fits all. Different parents have different personalities. Apart from even their personalities, different parents have different situations, so you handle them differently. I have a list of parents' personality types. We have the involved parent. That's the parent who's involved with the child's education. You make the most of that without overdoing it. There are schools that teachers are discouraged from interfacing with parents, and that's not a bad idea actually. If you know your teachers are not properly trained, but your supervisors are trained, or your head teacher is trained to handle personality types, and they are also emotionally intelligent, then you can curtail, the number of people that do interface with the parent. Because sometimes head teacher is saying something, teacher is saying another thing. It can be very annoying. You don't want that. So, to be on the safer side, keep training everyone. Keep training everyone on how to interface with parents. Because even if you don't want your teachers to interface with your parents directly all the time, there's still a limit to how you can control that. Make it in such a way that if they ever have to interface with the parents, they understand their place. The helicopter parents, some parents hover over their children. It's not your job to start to teach them how not to. It's not your job to judge them. Yes, you may show them other ways of doing a certain thing, or you may help to allay their fears. Or don't need to be so afraid. Your child is fine, and then but don't judge them. Imagine, what is it safe? Don't judge them. You're not in their shoes. You don't know how they had the children. You don't know whether it's a woman who believed God for 20 years before she had that child. There are all kinds of stories. If you hear some stories, your ears will tingle. Okay? The advocate parent, that's the parent who is so happy with your school. The parent, is ready to tell the whole world about your school. Those kind of people can become your PTA chairman. They can become your PTA chairman, chairwomen. Become the people you can decide to host, get them to help, to involved in certain programs. What do you think? How do you think we should do this? How do you, but don't say what is even wrong with this one. Because some people are intimidated by parents who are expressive, the parents who's advocating. You may not even know the parent is advocating. But just because the parent is a bit loud and a bit boisterous, some schools are intimidated by that sort of thing. Okay, the busy parents. Some parents are so busy, it's not for you to start judging their parents. The only thing you can do is subtly find a way to advise, in such a way that the advice is not taken poorly, it's not taken badly, But some people are busy because they have to be busy. That's how they pay your school fees. That's how they get money to pay your school fees. Now, we know that some people work far away and there's traffic and there's all sorts. If they were to stop those jobs, they won't have the money to pay your school fees. Keep saying it that Schools that will be better appreciated in these times are schools who understand the times and take charge. For instance, if you decide to provide after-school facilities, after-school programs, some schools provide boarding schools. Let the children come home for the weekend, then Monday you drop them off and then they don't go back home until Friday. If you want to do that kind of thing, you can do that kind of thing. But by all means, instead of judging parents who are your clients, instead of judging them, help make their lives easier for them every step of the way. If you find a child who brings her lunch to school the following day from home and her plate isn't washed, or maybe she leaves her dirty plate and then she brings a fresh lunch pack, her dirty plate is still there, or something like that. It's not for you to judge what kind of parent is that, what kind of parent does this child have. Your duty is to try and help make life easier for the parent. Try and find out what you can do, how you can get a message across to the parent, or how you can interface to make it a better experience for the parent than it would have been if you hadn't come in the picture. But don't make it a work experience. Don't judge the parent and make it a work experience. Okay? Now the complainer, there are some parents who they're always complaining. No matter what you do, they will complain. Now it's for you to find out, how do I handle this person? Sometimes it's just to keep quiet until they're gone. Just to maintain and keep quiet and keep smiling until they're gone. But you ask yourself, how do I handle a complaining parent who's always complaining? The fearful parent. The fearful parent can be the helicopter child, the parent too. So the fearful parent, how do you handle such a parent? You just identify that this one is just fearful. Sometimes they can come out shouting. You don't know that the shouting is because they are fearful. So if you're able to identify that this shouting is because this man or this woman is fearful, then you know that maybe there's something that triggers them. Maybe they grew up with fear. You don't know what experience they're coming from. Okay, the competitive parents. Some parents, Junior brought a purple color of tomorrow I'm bringing gold. That sort of thing. Some parents are just like that. If you know that is the case, what do you do with such a parent? Don't judge. Instead, find out, how can I use this parent's competitive nature for the betterment of my school? You understand? To help the school, to help our programs. Maybe you know that parent A has provided so and so for the inter-house sports. You know that this other parent is competitive. Find a way to communicate it to the other. But we would like you to be part of our program. Even this person and leave it at that. Since you know she's competitive or he's competitive. Do you understand? So you make it work for you instead of judging them. Make it work for you or for them. At the end of the day, you get a good experience. They get a good experience. That parent will be satisfied after they've satisfied their competitive edge. The cooperative parent. Oh, that's awesome. You know how to do. Once you are able to identify the cooperative parent, you know that this one is no trouble. The tech-savvy parent, if there's a parent who's tech-savvy, they expect you to send a text. You could not call. Then at least you send a text or you send an email. You know what to do. This one is tech-savvy. I cannot come and tell him that in 21st century, in this 21st century, I don't know how to send an email. So let me find a way to send him an email. Or you're trying to reach him, you're not able to reach him, but you know he's tech-savvy. You send him an email. He's more likely to see that one than to answer your call. The traditional parents that believes things must be the way things must be, it's not forward moving. You know how to handle. Don't go and tell a parent you are lagging behind or you are a bell. Don't tell a parent that. You are obsolete. Don't tell a parent that. Okay? For pedagogy, this has to do with your actual choice of curriculum methodology with which you intend to drive teaching, learning activities at your school. It's a combination of the ideologies backing your practice in the things you do at your school. Usually one or a mix of more than one curriculum style. Now, some examples of these curriculum styles include the Nigerian curriculum, the Montessori, the British curriculum, the Waldorf curriculum, the IGCSE, the Cambridge, the Singaporean, the Finnish, etc. You see, there's so many. But don't come and say one method is the best or nothing. Come on. Even if you say one is the best for you, you can adopt that. But don't be stuck. Don't stick to that method. But to the point where you need another method to help a child, but you're not using that method to get through to one child or two other children. But you don't want to because you're stuck in your ways. The truth is that there is no curriculum method that came out of itself. They all borrowed from here and there. Dr. Montessori she's a doctor. She's a medical doctor. So where did she get her ideologies from? She would have studied other education, methodologies, and then was able to craft her own with her giftedness. We know that the Montessori curriculum is so popular in this country. Everywhere, Montessori, Montessori. And a lot of people don't know what it means. So what we're going to do is help you with the Montessori curriculum. And I have a Montessori, across the great schools. I will send that to you for free. I'll send that in the group for free, just so that you have a look of what a Montessori curriculum looks like at a typical Montessori school. How to up your game, how to improve on your practices, what to do with your curriculum. If you need to review your scheme of work, you need to review your curriculum in any way, you need to review your practice, roundabout, then you know where and where to touch upon. And then, mind you, these days, the Montessori curriculum is supposed to be so expensive to run if you're really going to run Montessori. Just the toys alone, because the toys, you have to use the toys to teach everything. And Maria Montessori already has her own, the people who run it now, I'm sure it wasn't like that in her time. In her time, she used to use materials, she would just pick them up and utilize them, self-made materials. But today, there are branded Montessori materials. You understand? And they're all fantastic, they're all so good, but they're very expensive. So we talk about creating your own Montessori materials, self-made, DIY Montessori materials. There's so many of them on YouTube. But you need to know what is expected of you, where you're expected to use this and use that. So when you watch all those Montessori videos, there's so many Montessori videos you should watch. Depending on the topic you're dealing with, you ask yourself, what material does Montessori require here? You find out how you can improvise and make your own DIY, for the class. That's what makes you an expert teacher. So you don't have to buy the entire Montessori materials if you can't afford it, if you can't find, if you cannot, then that's what you do. In the absence of anything, at least use the videos. Let the children even know what these things are like. Sometimes you watch a video, you've never used the thing, but when the time comes, you recognize the material. When the time comes and you're faced with the material, you recognize it and you know how to use them. Because you've watched the video, you have an idea what they're talking about. So in the absence of any at all, pass, videos are there for you. Okay, so we'll send you the PDF for Montessori curriculum that is interpreted across grades 1 to 12 classes. So you no longer have any excuse to deliver a shoddy Montessori curriculum. There are free resources everywhere, including videos. So I will also send, it says, see also some of the other PDF resources made available to you here, which will help arm you some more regarding Montessori curriculum ideology. I will send you 1 or 2 other books on Montessori method. If you're going to get a training in Montessori, they have about 5 or 6 books that they use for the entire training. I will give you 2 out of those books, PDFs out of those books, so you can read up by yourself and better your practice. Also, you have sites these days where you can download Nigerian schemes, lesson plans, and notes to make your work easier. I hope you know that. There are sites all over the place to download Nigerian schemes, lesson plans, and notes to make your work easier. You can ask me about those if you like. You may wonder about the other methods mentioned, methods like Waldorf, the Finnish, the Singaporean, etc. Mind you, there are more. This is not even extensive. I've not even mentioned half. Do have a look at some of these articles. If you type any of these, you will see articles on them. Okay, maybe I'll send 1 or 2 articles I wrote in the past in my networking group, to do with some of these things, and to give you a broader picture what some of these things can be like. Maybe I'll do that, maybe not. Let's see how that goes. Okay, indeed, the goal more often is to practice a mixed curriculum, taking from here and there. You practice a mixed curriculum, you take from here and there. Thus, the better teacher is the person who has knowledge of different methods and can apply any in order to be more effective in the classroom when the need arises. Broaden your knowledge of different curriculum and how they are used to make you a better teacher in the classroom, a more versatile teacher in the classroom. So now that was it with pedagogy, your teaching methodology. Next we go to your school personality.